Well, just picking up right there, most every objective economic study, whether it's from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce or independent economists, shows that if we move forward with comprehensive immigration reform, it would be a boon to our economy. And that even just doing the modest step of assuring the future of our dreamers, these talented young people, most of whom have never known any country other than America, let them achieve their all, that would be a growth incentive in Texas, in our southwestern states, and in many other parts of the country. But I want to pick up with these statistics with you, Dr. Zandi, because as I recall, you provided us some pretty sound advice about how we try to dig out of the financial debacle that President Obama inherited. And isn't it correct that with the enactment of the stimulus, which was unfortunately along partisan lines, right up until the time that President Trump was sworn into office, we had steady economic growth. We had jobs, we had job growth, we had economic progress well underway.
Yeah, yes, we did. I mean, just unemployment. Unemployment peaked exactly at 10% in late 2009. You know, President Obama became president in January of 2009. Stimulus package was passed in February of 2009. The recession ended in June of 2009. We lost 1 million jobs in January of 2009. Remember back to that fateful month. Unemployment peaked at 10. When he left, the unemployment rate was down closer to 5.5%, 5.5%. And what we've seen since is a continuation on
the progress,
that steady improvement. And here's what I'd say. If I go out and borrow money and go out and spend the money I just borrowed, for a brief period of time, it's all going to feel pretty good, right?
It's a sugar high.
Absolutely. And of course, I have a bill to pay, and when the money is gone, what happens? The good times are over. So enjoy it while it lasts, because the economy is already slowing. Growth in Q4 is going to come in somewhere around 2 to 2.5%, which is exactly where it was before the tax cuts, and it's going to be lower than that in Q1. And we're not getting back to sustained growth of 3% under the current tax law. And let me say one other thing. You are absolutely right about immigration reform. If you want strong, sustained economic growth, I mean, if you want 3% growth sustained in something we can support in the long run, it's immigration reform. We need more immigrants, not fewer immigrants.
Thank you. And there really is, as near as you ever get to economic consensus, that our growth rate is slowing, and it is burdened by the huge amount of debt that you told us to avoid when we were considering this tax law last year, right?
Exactly. I mean, it was pretty obvious, and the CBO and the Joint Committee on Tax was telling you this, and we're getting exactly what the script is.
I'm pleased that every amendment that we offered as Democrats trying to improve that bill was fully paid for. Would your advice be to the committee that out of concern for this huge amount of Republican debt, we ought not to be doing things that will add to the debt further with unpaid tax cuts?
Absolutely. I think we're losing that very important fiscal discipline. We need every tax cut, in my view, every spending increase has to be paid for. We have to figure out how to do that.
And Dr. Boucher, you, like Dr. Zandi, mentioned the need for some improvements with child care, with infrastructure, with getting a competitive workforce. Dr. Ettinger, certainly our community colleges. Isn't really the primary need there for some direct expenditure to strengthen our community colleges, to meet our workforce training needs with effective programs, and not just more inefficient tax credits and tax cuts?
100%. I'll be quick so that we can hear from the community college expert as well. I mean, I would say two things. I mean, first, part of what the tax reform did, the tax cuts did, was starve the government of the ability to make these much needed investments. And we're not seeing the investments that we need to be making in infrastructure, in early education, in education writ large, in healthcare. These are all things that are demonstrably going to improve our economy moving forward on a stable path, not like the, as you just called it, sugar high we're on now. So I would 100% agree. On the question of tax credits, certainly we do need to be making these investments and encouraging investments where businesses aren't making them.
Let me just ask, with my time expiring, can any of you tell me how you spent the $4,000 in average adjusted income that President Trump and this crowd said you would get every year as a result of this tax cut? Anybody get their $4,000? Just another of the phony promises that were made for
Gentleman's time
a
has
measure
expired.
that does not work.